sometimes comes with challenges where how do we stand and how do we process what we go through. A man in his best state is also vanity. That means you could be doing everything right and everything could be going well in one's life, and all of a sudden, calamity comes, or a transition happens, or something that caused you to have a setback. And I believe that all setbacks are minor. And some that are minor seem to be long-lived, or longevity. But God is faithful that when we are going through and we don't know what to do, He shows up at the right time. The problem with most people don't realize is that an absence of God is a longevity of suffering. But when God is in your life, as every believer knows, He always shows up right when you need Him the most. The old saints would say He may not come when you want Him, but He's guaranteed always to be on time. So whatever you're going through today, I pray that this word will empower your heart as you watch us all over the world and realize that here at the Tabernacle, where we say that the word is on, that we truly love you. God bless you. Thank you for joining us again. Have a blessed day. Let's give Him a hand clap of praise all over the world. We appreciate you. We have two major things that are going to take place today. One is the dedication of a baby, and then the baptism of a grown baby. So either way, we got a lot to do today. A minor setback, but you shall recover. The wife and I, along with Minister Taylor and them, went to a little getaway for the weekend. We have been planning this for the longest, and as many know, they travel with us a lot of the time when we go places. And while I was away, I began to reflect on life, reflect on how often I've had setbacks, minor setbacks, things that have literally, if it had not been for God, would have shook my faith. How many have had that experience? And God was faithful to restore, to bring back what was lost. My wife and I was talking with one of the local pastors, Pastor Valerie Thompson of Revelation. And she was sharing with my wife how over the years she has watched me from afar and how she recognized that since this angel came in my life, I became one of the most happiest men she's seen in a long time. Many times people are watching you and you don't know that. Many times people are seeing you and you don't see them. You don't have to go out of town to be a fool. If you do, they'll see you there also. But I'm thankful for what God is doing, has done. And I want this message today to encourage someone's heart that even in your setback, God can recover, or you shall recover. Two words I want you to look at today. Number one, setback. The second word is recover. The first word, setback, is an unanticipated or sudden check in progress, a change from better to worse. And I'm quite sure all of us can relate to that. You had some good moments and some good things happening, and all of a sudden, something went wrong. It doesn't mean there was sin in your life or something you did wrong. It just happened to be a moment. Somebody say a moment. So when we experience or witness someone that's going through a transition of life or a trial, the first thing we ought to be apt to do is to pray for them. Because this old saying, it's only a matter of time, we're all going to go through something. And then when you're going through something, you have a sudden change from you're doing well or having good health, and all of a sudden you go one morning, you wake up, and things are not well. You're not feeling the way you used to. I challenge every young person, when you get 50, I promise you, there things won't be like they used to be. And I don't know if you can recover from that. I just think you just go through the process. You just learn to live to be old and in pain. Anybody can relate to that? I mean, they told you before you get 50, 50 is a whole different change. And you talking about, I'm going to be good. And also you woke up one morning at 50 years old plus one day. And arthritis became your new friend. You're not as strong as you used to be. But a change from the better to the worse. And many of us, even in the body of Christ, are experiencing that in our own personal life. moments that you was doing well and things was going well. You had a good paying job. All of a sudden the economy crashed and all of a sudden things changes and they lay off and you're affected by that. Regardless of your Christianity faith, but you was affected because time and chance befall all. And when things happen, unbeknown to us, but never unbeknown to God. And when we're having these moments, these minor setbacks, you got to understand there's something in the making. There's something God is doing, and there's something that God is allowing to happen to get you to a place where you're supposed to be. Because if you never go through something, you never know how good God is. If you've never been sick in your body, you never know how God can heal. If you never had depression in your life, you never know how God can bring you out. So there are minor setbacks that happen in people's lives, but God is faithful and just to deliver. Tell your neighbor, I'm coming back. The word recover is to get back something lost or stolen or taken away, especially by making an effort. In other words, when you recover, that means you have to participate in getting back what you lost. As many of you probably know, my wife kept dropping her little wristband. So I did her like a child. I said, listen, this is too much. I put it in my pocket. And then I left. So, you know, you're acting like one of our grandkids. You keep dropping your toy. I got to keep picking it and giving it to you. So I had to do the recovery for her because she dropped it. I picked it up and gave it to her. There are some part of life that people will be a part of the recovery. But then there'll be parts of your life where there will not be a participant. It will be just you and God, because God doesn't want nobody to get the glory. Because sometimes when people help you, they say to you, you remember when I did this? You remember when I helped you pay that light bill? Huh? I'm recovering it all when you get your check. But we have those moments when, just as a believer, things happen. In fact, tell somebody, things happen. And because when they happen, sometimes we begin to go to this guilt mode. Or we start following everything around us. Or people start speculating. Maybe you did something. Maybe you was in a place you're not supposed to be in. But they don't understand, and maybe you may not quite understand, that this is a part of the process of life. I don't think I can reiterate enough as I've shared this year about life process. Because you're saved doesn't mean you're not going to go through something. Because you're saved doesn't mean you won't have setback. Because you're saved doesn't mean you can't lose your job. Because you're saved doesn't mean your house cannot be foreclosed on. Things happen. But even when they happen, always know that God will recover all. Anything you lose, a possibility you'll get more. Something you don't want to recover. Old boyfriend, old girlfriend. People got mighty quiet when I said that. How many of y'all got some S's that you glad you didn't recover? I thought everybody would jump up and say hallelujah. And maybe you got one here now, you trying to, you got to pray through that one, honey. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 6 through verse 8. I want you to hear the life story of David. David was the king of Israel. One thing I want everybody to understand, David was not a priest. He was not a pastor. So often people say David fell and they equate to other people falling as a priest. No, it has nothing to do with it. David represented the government. And David had committed a sin, and we know history, and David had did things he wasn't supposed to have done. But the Bible said David had a heart for God. In spite of his craziness, in spite of his shortcoming, God recognized David as one who loved him. Look at verse 6. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him, because the soul of all the people was grieved. Somebody said grieved. Every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord, what? Notice here, the scripture says David, in spite of what he was facing, in spite of his setback, in spite of what was thought of him by his surrounding, David found the best comfort was to encourage himself in the Lord his God, remembering that if God delivered me from the lion, if he allowed me to slay a giant, surely God can recover me from this. So all our lives historically have had some significant meaning, changes and things for the better, things for the worse. But the Bible said David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. David's relationship was personal. When you have a personal relationship with God, you can talk to God. God hears those that are close to him. It's like a father and a son. Relationship is built upon trust and faith, and the father always doing for the son. And the son trusts that whenever he's in trouble, no matter what he does, how he goes, the father will recover him. And David said, in verse 7, it said to Abiathar, the priest, Amalek's son, I pray thee, bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought the thought of the ephod to David. This was a particular high priest garment that the priest would wear, had different significant meaning. And when I was doing my study of Elder Mike, and I was trying to figure, why would David go and receive this garment for himself when the priest was available? Why? How did David have the authorization that as a government, yet he stepped in the place of the priesthood? And he took of the garment and placed it on himself, and he sought the face of God. Traditionally, this particular garment was a way of communicating with God, and God would give answers based on the garment. Look at verse 7 again, verse 8. And it said, and David inquired at the Lord, saying, shall I pursue after this truth? Shall I overtake them? And he answered him, who is God, pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them, and without fail recover what? Some. Possibility. Shall recover all. Now the story, go to verse 18. And David recovered all that the Amalekites had carried away, and David rescued his 2 wives. And there was nothing lacking to them, neither small nor great. I mean, no harm was done to them. Neither sons nor daughters, neither spoil, nor anything that had taken to them, they had taken to them. David recovered all. Now, let's understand the history of this particular incident. David, it was a warrior. He's a king, and he went to war with his soldiers, and they happened to go to battle. And while they was going to battle, the Amalekites came and invaded Ziklag, where David them resided. And they burned Ziklag down and took all the possession, and they took the wives and the children, which naturally would be an effect on any father or husband that his children or his goods had been taken that he labored for. So the men at that time that was around David, the soldiers, they became distressed, they became grieved, and they became very disturbed. And they became so disturbed that they had wept so long they became weak. Have you ever cried to a point that you became weak? I mean, you cried so long that you didn't have nothing to cry about anymore. You were so overwhelmed by what you was going through or what you had just experienced that it brought such a devastation in your life. So this is the same incident with David. David now, as a king who had the will, the audacity to take these men to war, and while they go on to war, Ziklag is being invaded by the Amalekites. And the Amalekite does all this harm, but yet God is still present. Now the other guys, listen, they begin to cry, they begin to complain, and then they begin to turn themselves toward David. They became offended with the leader. It is amazing when you're in leadership, when things go bad and people lie, the first person they blame is the preacher. If I had not been a part of that church, if I had not given them my money, my life wouldn't be what it is. Your life is what it is because of circumstance. Has nothing to do with the church, has nothing to do with the preacher. It has to do with realities. So David and them is at a disadvantage. They've gone to do the will of the Father, to go to battle and defeat this army here. But yet while they defeat this army, their family and their city is being destroyed and being taken. Now imagine these men are coming back from victory to face defeat. They come from victory of beating this particular army just to come home to see smoke going up, to see their town burned down, and their children, their wives are gone, not knowing whether they got consumed in the fire or not. All they know, everything was taken away. And everybody began to cry. Everybody began to weep till they couldn't weep no more. And now David, the king, is now facing a dilemma. How do I explain this situation? How do I get explanation on what happened? Because I don't know what happened. But one thing I do know, if I turn my face to God, if I turn this situation to God, God has the answer to this situation. Because when you're going through, you don't need to turn to people, turn to God first. David did not turn to the priest. He did not turn to the soldier. He turned to God. And it said David sought the face of God. And God responded to David's answer. And David said the most powerful thing. He said, shall I pursue? Shall I overtake? Only a warrior can talk about warring. Only a prayer warrior can talk about the effectiveness of prayer. Because the Bible said that fervent prayer of the righteous availeth much. If you don't have a prayer life, you can't relate to praying. So even when my back against the wall, one thing I do know, that prayer works. Prayer is my communication between me and God. And if I'm talking to my daddy going to answer me. So when everything falls apart, everything goes opposite of the direction you was anticipated, you need to learn to turn back to God. David turned back to God in a distressed moment. And God responded. The Bible says clearly that if God be for us, he's more than what the world can be against us. So when things are going wrong in your life and disasters and calamity have come your way, God still is God. He is yet faithful. Even when it doesn't look favorable, it is yet favorable. When it doesn't look like it's working for you, it's yet working for you. All things work together for the good of them. So your trials and your tests and your issues is a part of God's plan for your life. There's nothing you lose that God won't give you back more. Oh, you learned something. So David recovered what? Somebody say all. Not some, but all. And not only all, he recovered all that they took from Ziklag and what they took from other people. See, God allows something to happen to give you double for your trouble. So instead of complaining on what's happening, you need to look to God and say, God, whatever you're doing in this season of my life, I'm going to trust you no matter how it looks, what it says, or what it begins to present. I'm going to trust in you for you all that I know. You've been faithful this far. You'll be faithful through the process. Tell your neighbor, you got to pray more. So David cried to the Lord and saying, shall I pursue after this truth? In other words, David said, now, I know what I can do, but I need to ask my father, should I? Because I have experience. I've killed a lion, I killed a bear, and I killed Goliath. Now, I need to know, God, shall I pursue? Because I'm ready to do that. I done cried. I'm done crying. I'm ready to do something now. How many know when the wind been knocked out of you, the best thing they do is get up? So David said, shall I pursue? And God said, yeah, not only shall you pursue, son, but you're going to recover all. In other words, you're not going to get back until you ask God. If you want God to give you the answer, you got to ask him. Most of us, when we go through a trial, the first thing we do, we turn to family, friends, and folk. Turn to mom and them, their opinion, dad and them, his opinion, cousin Newt, his opinion, first, second, fifth cousin. Everybody got an opinion, and all their opinion does not add up to what God says to do. All the time you waste talking to them, you could be talking to the number one who created all of them. Tell your neighbor, stop wasting your time talking to people. I'm quite sure there was some things happening over the weekend where many of them tried to reach me, and they couldn't reach me because my phone was cut off. Not because of lack of paying the bill, because I paid the bill. It's just that AT&T decided because I changed phone service, they're going to punish me by locking my phone up. But them and their mama are going to pay for that one. Because I'm going to recover all. So now I'm stuck with a track phone. But hey, God provided. See? Yeah. I still can talk. I just got to pull on the side of the road and talk. I can't talk. That law in place now. So in the process of me losing my phone ability, the people that I so-called love made fun of me the whole weekend. How's that track working for you? So I asked my wife, have you talked to your mama lately? Well, we'll leave that alone. But isn't it amazing when you're going through, people ask you some of the hardest, stupidest questions? So I had ability to talk. I just didn't want to talk on no track phone. At least gave me an Obama phone or something. Yeah, I'm venting. I'm going to call Ken Nugent as soon as I leave here. But my point of this is I was limited to the iPhone, but I had the track phone, the flip phone, the company phone. I just didn't want to use it. Some of us just like that. God has provided, you just don't want to use it. He's giving what you need to continue, but you complain about what you got. Tell your neighbor, hold on to what you got. Okay? Now the assistant pastor got jokes now. All right? Okay. I ain't going to say it. I'm going to stay with the sermon. But it said, look at verse 19, and there was nothing lacking to them, neither small nor great, neither sons nor daughters, neither spoil nor anything that had been taken to them. David recovered all. Look at Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 11 to verse 12. I want you to see something here. It says, in Ecclesiastes chapter 9, it says, I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to who? So no one in the body of Christ, or no one that's not of the body of Christ, is exempt of issues. Right. Things happen. In fact, tell somebody, things happen. But time and chance happen to them all. You mean to tell me as much as I know, as much as I come to church on a regular, and as much as I pay my tithes on a regular, as much as I love people the best way I can on a regular, that I'm going to have misfortunes in my life? I'm going to have setbacks? You mean to tell me I'm a faithful tither and I can risk in 1 month I can't pay my light bill? I may have a shortage of food. You mean to tell me as a believer I'm going to experience this stuff? You mean to tell me I came to God to have issues? No, you didn't come to God to have issues. Issues just happen to be a part of life. But God works with the issues. God works with the circumstance. And God take those circumstances that you're going through and working in your favor. So time and chance happen to them all. In other words, men and women of God, you're not that special. You're not above going through. You're not above having a setback. The most important part of a setback is, are you willing to come back? A just man fall down 7 times, but he gets back up. So there will be times that the wind will be knocked out of you, but all you need to do is get back up. You do better showing forth an effort than being effortless. Can't happen to them all. So when you see someone going through, just understand time and chance happen to them all. For man also knoweth not his time, in verse 12, as the fishes that are taken in an evil net, and as the birds that are caught in the snare, so are the sons of men snared in the evil time, when it falleth suddenly upon them. All of a sudden, Elder Mike, things are going well in your life, you're progressing, things are going good, and all of a sudden, something happened. You get sideswiped. You get a letter in the mail, you get a doctor's report, everything about you changes overnight. Even in the change, God is still involved in the changing. Nothing happens to you and I that God is not already aware of. If you understand the story of Job, Job was a righteous man, eschewed evil, loved God, and fear being not righteous before the Father. And yet Job went through trials. Yet Job was tested. Yet Job had losses. Yet Job, his children was killed through the storm. But yet the Bible said at the end of Job's life, he recovered all. He had more in the end than he had from the beginning. The problem in the midst of us, most of us, is that we allow ourselves to have people in our life who give us false advice and wrong advice, and we stay in the storm longer than we're supposed to. So everybody go through. Tell your neighbor, everybody go through. That means even though you're here today in full swing, you can leave the church today and something happened that you didn't anticipate. Not the things that you created now. Because some of us create stuff. And say it have to be a chance. No, that's called you being creative. And when it don't work out, God, what we're going to do? God said, well, no, you didn't involve me when you started it. So as things suddenly fall upon them, men and women of God, things are going to happen. Let me give you the process of recovery. Number one, understand recovery is a process. When you're recovering, it's a process of that. David, in his situation, facing the loss of his family, loss of his wife, loss of his wealth, he had to go through a process. The process that many of us go through is to get to the point where we understand who we are. A trial will define you. A test will develop you. So when you're going through something, there's a learning process. The process is, I'm right here, but I got to get over there. In order to get over there, I got to go here. You never go through the process standing in the place where you reside at. You got to make some action. You got to move forward. No, you didn't get that job, but that doesn't mean there's not another job for you.
That's good.
Yes, you lost. But understand there's something in the loss. That's something you're going to get out of this loss. Number two, don't be overwhelmed by the circumstances. Don't allow what you're going through to overwhelm you. Not saying that you don't feel the punch of it, but don't let it be so overwhelming that you can't even keep your faculties together. That you lose hope, you lose faith. Don't do that. Stay the course. Otherwise, circumstances are circumstances, but no circumstance lasts forever. And the reason you know it don't last forever because you've gone through stuff before that you came out of. You only be overwhelmed when you're focused on the circumstance and you don't put your faith in God. When things are tough and tight, that's when you trust God the most. It's easy to believe God when you got it, but can you trust God when you don't have it anymore? When you're down to a zero vehicle and you need God to provide a vehicle. But won't he show up, Tashawn? But don't be stressed. Don't stress it. Because the more you stress it, the less you're going to believe God. Because when you stress, you're subject to make irrational decisions. You got to learn to trust God. No matter how bad it looks, no matter how bad it feels, you got to trust God. So don't be overwhelmed by your circumstances. Because circumstances are going to come. Number three, be open to other opportunities. One door shut, another door will open. Willie left, let John come in. Don't need cry no spill milk. Does that make sense? Why everybody dropping their head? I mean, things happen. When things go opposite the way it's supposed to go, always prepare yourself for another opportunity. Opportunity means opportunity for other things to happen. If you lose a job, don't stop by you ain't gonna get another job. Go get another job. If you ever get a job where you don't really want to work, but at least you're working and work your way back up again. Because one thing about progress in life is opportunities always present itself. The question is, are you willing to accept it? Don't think you're above taking a certain job. Be open. I can't take that job. I got a degree. But maybe your degree don't fit this degree. How many of you are hungry and there's food before you, only food won't eat? Now, I know Steve and Sharon don't eat meat. But I promise you, if a famine hit here, and the only thing is meat around, I can't. They'll grab that pork chop and say, to God be the glory. And rebuke you for talking about them. And then, give me some hot sauce. We good. So when opportunity come, and what I'm saying is when you're in the process of recovery, don't omit another opportunity. Don't give up. Don't throw in the towel. Just wait on God. Number 4, know that others have experienced life setback. Let me see the hands of everyone that have had a setback. Okay, Brother Donald, what did it feel like? But did you come back? Yeah. At the moment you're having a setback, you don't even see the future. You're so focused on the now that you don't understand that that now is not the now, but the now is going to return. It's going to eventually be the future. So what you're going through now is temporary. The question is, what are you doing while you're going through the now? Are you still being lovable? Are you being faithful? Are you trusting God? Are you being consistent and letting God do what God does best? Is to bring you out. So when everybody has experienced a life setback, it means it's a testimony. I can attest to you, I've been through some stuff. I've had some setbacks. But I also can tell you, I've had some major comebacks. When all hopes look like it's all over, you come back. But you never come back sitting around pouting and complaining about it. Oh, me, oh, my. That's just an additional ministry that you took on. Oh, me, oh, my ministry. And before you know it, you got a whole group of people following you. Because they got the oh, me, oh, my, too. So what you have to understand is, don't get caught up in the oh, me, oh, my syndrome. Because everybody has said today they've had some setbacks. Some good ones and some bad ones. Something we did we shouldn't supposed to have done set us back. Some sin participation we done has set us back. But my God, at least you got back and came back. And the thing about it is, you owe no one explanation of your comeback. When you recover, you just recovered. What did you do? I got back in right with God. So everybody has experienced a setback. You, and you. We all have experienced setbacks in life. It's a part of the process. You think you can always have good, never have evil? You think you're always going to walk in light and never be no darkness in your life? You're going to have those moments. We was talking to our daughter and son that recently purchased a home. What's their name? LaWanda. The Bettises. And she shared her testimony with Prophet saying how, you know, when they went through the process and how what she'd been through, what she'd gone through, and she believed in God and how that she had her eyes on. It was just right, but it was some things lacking in it. How many know God knew all the things that are not right about something? Even though you getting ready to get it, and you ready to take it on, God said, no, that may be a busted pipe under the ground you don't know about. They may be trying to put a fastener on you. My child can't let you be overwhelmed by that. So I had their eyes on this particular house, and it didn't work out. But God had a better plan. And they closed on the house, 2 weeks ago? About 3,000 square feet home, and got a prophet's quarters to it. Hey, I'm part of the recovery. I mean, at least have a room for the prophet and the wife to come, spend the night at, But everybody experienced life setbacks. Everybody experienced life setback. My point of this is they went through, but God brought them through. Many of you have already shared your testimony in this ministry of what you've gone through and how God brought you out. You recovered. At the moment you're going through, you don't feel recovery. You don't even see recovery. But you got to trust God is going to recover. Number 5, encourage yourself with the word. If nothing else works, encourage yourself through the word. You can do it through the music, gospel music, to encourage your faith. See, the more you spend time in the word, the more you see you. The word of God will show you what you need to do, how to do it. So as you encourage yourself with the word, you take that word literally, you begin to eat it. You begin to read the scripture. You begin to remind yourself of the promises of God. You remind yourself of the covenant of God. And before you know it, what you thought you didn't have anymore, you got more coming. So the word reveals everything. It'll show you all what's hidden and all that need to be made known. Number 6, almost done. Tighten your prayer life. How you tighten your prayer life? Start praying more. Don't pray because you're going through. Have a prayer life because you talk to God all the time. It's just at this moment you're going through, your prayer life is increasing. But the purpose of prayer and to tighten it up is that you'll be more in sync with God. The Bible says no good thing would you withhold from them that walk upright. So when you're walking upright to prayer and talking to God, your experience with God become more favorable. Because when you talk to God, he talks back to you. He doesn't hold back when you communicate with him. So learn to pray more. Spend time in prayer. When you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, don't say you woke up because you got gas. You woke up because God wants to talk to you. I got gas, I'm going to roll the other side. No, get up and pray. Or all of a sudden, a person comes in your heart, or in your, what we call in our spirit. There's a moment of tightening up your prayer to pray for somebody. Maybe God is trying to get you to in a place that you can pray for them, that they'll come out. So prayer changes things. So your circumstance and your setback is connected to prayer. But the prayer is not about, God, why me? But prayer is, God, whatever you're doing in this season, don't do without me. Number 7, seek God for directions and follow them. Listen to this. Seek God for directions and follow them. Don't seek for direction and do your own. When you follow God's direction, it's always going to go against what you want to do. God's direction is this. Go to Sister Macaroni and tell Sister Macaroni you're sorry for talking about her. Flesh don't want to do that. Flesh said, well, if I do that, God, I'm going to raise up again. But is Sister Macaroni worth you remaining set back? Or say you heard that Sister Spaghetti spoke against you. You heard. But you didn't hear Sister Spaghetti speak against you. You heard it through the grapevine. Instead of you going to her in an appropriate way, you now take a position against what is not true. Now it's causing you to be set back spiritually, because now you can't see yourself even speaking to her because you heard what she said about you that she did not say about you. So you live years with an attitude with Spaghetti when all you had to do is go talk to her and see her side of the view or story, and you'd be surprised. She'll probably say, you know what? I didn't say that about her. Your friend said that about you. I corrected them. So you 3 years running with boo-boo, and Spaghetti has never been your enemy. But if you had went to Spaghetti, according to the scripture, after God gave you direction, and you followed them, you would have healed the situation. A lot of us are being held back because we won't follow God's direction. No one is worth your soul salvation. Let me put it this way. No one is worth your peace. It's too much to go through the church to avoid speaking to somebody when you can speak to them. No, it's quiet now. I'm aware a lot of folks don't like Prophet Power. Because I tell the truth. But they didn't like Jesus either. Boom. But what I do, when people don't like me, I speak to them. I'm an agitator. I just, hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? God bless you. They be trying to run. I chase them down. Hey, where you going? I'm on assignment. I got direction to speak to you. Don't leave. Come back. Where you going? Because my salvation is more important than walking in a fence with someone when I'm trying to come back. My blessing is being obedient to God. My blessing comes when I do what God said. And when I do what God said, everybody don't agree with that. Let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, as I close out. Play with a good music song. When you tell people truth, truth defines and it divides and it destroys their lie. If you don't never tell the truth, you never come to lie. And for the simple fact, there are people in this world, and God forbid in the church, but it is true, they're going to have issues with you. But don't you have issues with them? Because they're not worth your soul. I mean, it's too much labor to do. To see, make sure that when you put in the parking lot, where they car park at. People do this. Or they stay in the car waiting till you go by. And looking at the Bible like they reading. When all you got to do is get up and go to that person and make it right. Because when you're trying to come back and you're trying to recover, you want the slate to be clean. You want a fresh start. And that fresh start means, God, whatever you want me to do to make it right, that I can recover, Even though my pride is trying to be in the way, I'm not going to walk in my pride. I'm going to walk in humility that, God, you can bless me and my family. Because my blessing is based on me being obedient to the direction. I can't even imagine how many people walk around this world, Elder Mike, that God's given specific direction on what to do, and they didn't do it. And they delayed the process. They delayed the recovery. You don't have to wait till your world is ending, but do it while you're healthy. My thing's this: don't be at odds with people for unjust reason. Be your brother's keeper. The Bible says if your enemy is hungry, you feed him. But then, in my recovery, when David recovered, in spite of them coming against David, David shared the wealth. He knew who was talking about him. He knew who was talking about stoning him. He saw them. He heard them. But David did not allow his personal feelings get in the way of being obedient to God's will. Nobody is worth you not recovering. As husband, don't let her be the reason you don't recover. Life goes on. Life goes on. Everybody stand to your feet. There are moments in our lives, our circumstances rise to the top. Opinions rises to the top. But that opinion that someone has about you should not be enough to keep you from recovering. Life goes on. You got to push past the pain. You got to tell people, you got to tell yourself, you know what? In spite of what I'm going through, I'm going to encourage myself. I didn't get that promotion, but you know what? God got a better promotion for me. Maybe I wasn't ready to get that particular position. Because if you're immature here, you'll be immature there. When you grow up, you'll be able to handle that responsibility. So I'm gonna appeal to someone, or those that may come. If your life has been in a minor setback.
World Changes Tabernacle, led by Prophet Prathan Powell, is a word-based church committed to seeing you win. We're called to create a loving and caring community for all people and work together for justice and peace in our world. Recognizing that our spiritual journeys are all different, we strive to be respectful and inclusive concerning each individual's relationship with God. We believe that Christianity is a lifestyle, and we're committed to teaching, learning, and living the Word of God. It's more than a song, more than a shout, more than a dance. Whether you're a committed follower of Christ or just curious about God, you are invited to visit with us. Give us a call or check out our website for more information or to see our sermon times.